Welcome back to our conversation with 2nd District Congressman Jim McGovern of Worcester. He's the chairman of the House Rules Committee and a senior member of the Massachusetts congressional delegation. Congressman, we're talking about gaps between the two parties. And speaking of those, Congress last week approved the awarding of congressional gold medals to members of the Capitol and Metropolitan Police who defended the U.S. Capitol against the rioters who stormed it on January 6th. 21 House Republicans voted against it, some of them complaining that the measure used the word insurrection to describe the events of that day. What would your mentor, the late Congressman Joe Moakley, have said about today's Republican Party and the way the debates like this unfold these days in Congress?
I mean, he'd be horrified. He was in Congress during a time where Republicans and Democrats actually got along and respected one another.
And that's not the case now.
Right, and certainly respected the institution. I mean, those Republicans who voted against providing Capitol Police a gold medal for their heroism on January 6th, they're cowards. I mean, I have no idea what the hell they were thinking. But quite frankly, it's sick that a sitting member of Congress who was here on January 6th, whose lives were protected by these Capitol Police, can't even vote to honor them. I mean, there's something terribly wrong with the Republican Party. And the fact that they are tolerated, that they face no repercussions from their leadership, that in fact the leadership is silent on that, on their votes and on their behavior, is also very, very telling. So I think Joe Moakley would be horrified. And again, Joe Moakley was the kind of guy that wanted to find common ground. And I would like to think, no matter whether you supported Trump or not, that we could all find common ground in honoring the Capitol Police who behaved so heroically on that day.
Well, one thing the two parties do seem to agree on is a reluctance to get involved in military action around the world. And the House voted late last week to revoke the authorization for the use of military force that it gave to President Bush after 9/11. That's been invoked by presidents of both parties ever since. What's the significance of this vote?
Well, the significance of this vote is that we are ending an authorization for the use of military force that should have been ended a long time ago. The war in Iraq ended a long time ago. We passed this in 2002, all right? And we have presidents, both Democratic presidents and Republican presidents, who have used that authorization to justify military intervention in other places in the world. That's not the way it's supposed to work. If a president wants to use the military, he ought to come to Congress, and there ought to be a debate, and we ought to decide whether or not that's an appropriate, use of our military or not. But to just put everything on kind of autopilot and say, I can do whatever the hell I want to do based on something that happened, almost 20 years ago is ridiculous. I've been working with Congresswoman Barbara Lee on trying to revoke this authorization for years, and I'm really happy that in a bipartisan way, this House came together and voted to end that 2002 AUMF. I expect the Senate will do the same. And by the way, President Biden said that he favors ending the AUMF.
Interesting how there's such unanimity on that. I do want to squeeze in one more topic briefly, and it warrants longer discussion, but we'll do the best we can. Hundreds of thousands of people reportedly go hungry in Massachusetts every day. I know this has been a focus of yours for years. In a state as wealthy as ours, with the proliferation of social programs and nonprofits that we have, as many or more than any other state, why does this still happen?
Well, because hunger is a political condition. And we have all the resources. We have the know-how to end it. It's never been a political priority. And one of the things I'm doing as chairman of the Rules Committee is we have launched a series of hearings and site visits to try to compile a volume, if you will, of best practices of some of the challenges that people face, listening to people with lived experiences, learning how to do this better, talking to the public and the private sector and the nonprofit sector to figure out what we need to do, with the goal of getting the White House next year to do a White House conference on food, nutrition, health, and hunger. The last time we had a White House conference was 52 years ago. And that conference actually produced things like WIC, the modern day food stamp program, expanded child nutrition programs in school. We can end hunger and not just manage it. And I'm hoping that, the stars are aligned where this will become a priority.